All right, you guys, welcome back. Let's dive back into it. We got 7 or 8 more layouts to go. Let's get back in. Okay. Stay motivated. How do you stay motivated and inspired? I have a little problem with the way this one reads. The how to or how do you isn't really important, but stay motivated and inspired. I think we need to connect those sentences a little bit more. And right now, when you start introducing a bunch of different point sizes, it becomes a little tricky. So in one headline, she's using 3 point sizes. I think if you use 2, that would be okay. 1 would be okay too. And so I think this one probably needs a little bit more help in terms of what the heck happened here. Okay, this one needs a little bit more help because it's supposed to read, how do you stay motivated and inspired, okay? So I'd like to connect this either in point size or in color, but the fact that the point size is different and the color different, it makes me like just read that, and inspired doesn't really make sense on its own, okay? Okay, and so also the fact that you've done lowercase and then uppercase here, I don't know, it's just, there's too many tricks happening here. So you've done 3 point sizes, 2 colors, and you've done upper, lower, and 3 baselines. It's too many tricks going on, okay? It's supposed to be one connected thought, so let's connect them. And then all the other stuff is just textural, and it's totally okay, all right? How I became a graphic designer. Okay.
That's a little mistake over there.
That's not supposed to be there?
Yeah, it's like a Dropbox link.
Okay. And that would wind up in the printed design?
I don't think that was...
That's not supposed to be there. I think this is oddly placed. How I became a graphic designer. This one, the flow is not working for me as well as the other ones. And we still have similar problems here with trap space, okay? This one's okay, this is a good cut. This one not so good. It's gonna be difficult because it's cutting across 4 letters, and so to get them all to line up, it's tricky.
Like
it's very tricky. I just don't, like, these don't all feel connected to me. I'm not quite sure what's happening here, okay? You could probably also decrease the leading, the space between these 2 lines a little bit, because I'm starting to see, when you guys want to be mindful of the negative space that's created between things as much as the things you're putting down on the page. So there's no hard and fast rule as far as I'm concerned, but I think this could have been closed up a hair so that this becomes less of a white shape and more that we're just reading the black shapes. Generally speaking, when you have a lot of white space in between, it feels like it's another design element. So I would try to figure out how to make this, let me put this arrow on, how to make this part work together, okay? The future, money talk, pricing design, okay? There's a little spacing issue here too. The first thing is I like the big, bold number 3, it's red. And this is the second read, and that's the third read, or possibly this is. I also like the funny type spacing, the letter spacing here. It's kind of uneven, and there is really no rule to it. It's just about the rhythm and how it feels. So you could take something that's highly recognizable, like the word pricing or design, by increasing the letter spacing in between each letter here. You're almost creating like a very complex puzzle, or it's like an illustration or a graphic device, when in fact it's just a word. So you'll see this done in a lot of main titles where they want to get fun or have fun with the typography. They'll space it out funky like this, and I quite like that. I think it would be nice to connect this to something. When you add vertical lines like that, it's begging me to do something like here as an element, even if you did a plus sign there or a dot or something to branch that or link them together, but then it needs to line up with that. So now that I see this, I think I need to move this down here, so it matches the baseline. Let's say you added a red cross there or something. Can you see how that would tie this design together? And you may not be aware of it as the audience, but you feel those things, okay? And I like this. It's very textural. It's almost like you put a little rubber stamp and you're cloning little bits in there. But here's the part where I'm saying letter spacing or line spacing isn't quite right. Let me try to do that a little bit more accurately, okay? I'm not saying that's super accurate, but I feel like, is it the same? I can't tell because my marker's so fat, but we want to just make sure. I still feel like this could be tightened up, okay? So here's what I'm going to suggest we do. Let me delete all this stuff. I can do it right now. I'll show you guys on the internet what I mean. If we take this, it's going to mess up the design a little bit, but if we inched it up a little bit, bless you. I inched it up too far. Come on. Let me hide that. Okay. So this becomes a group, and that becomes money talk. So it's not all just even out or spacing. You'll notice too, when the leading decreases, this reads as a package unit. It comes together versus 1 point, 2 points, and 3 points. Okay? It messed up our design, but it actually created some opportunity for me to share with you guys a possible design thing. Oops. Okay. That sometimes we're focused mostly on putting things down on the page, like this element and this element. Sometimes it's cool to delete things, and this is just not intentional. It's just because we're working fast and dirty like that. Sometimes you can create really cool things by just taking things away. If you remember, in the old days, you would print things out, you would tape them up or use glue stick, and sometimes with your X-Acto blade, you'd cut off corners and you're like, oh, that's kind of cool. Or you can shift the typography a little bit. Let me show you what I mean by that. Now this is going to further destroy the design, but you see this angle right here? If we replicated that angle, it's like right there, more or less, and we took this design, and we take it and we shift it, we can create some interesting designs. So we're following that idea, and we're just shifting that. Now, this needs to be normal because there's too many tricks on the page, and of course I would fix this part, but that's what we can do there. And then what you would do is on this layer here, you might add an element. Why? You might add an element here to reinforce. That's not the right angle, but you might add a little element right there. That ties the design together, okay? So these are little visual tricks that you can do to anchor all your design. It's a theme that you can hear me talk about over and over again when it comes to typography. Okay, next one. Good job. Little tweak here and there. Mm-hmm. You'll remember all this, right? Yeah. Okay. "101 things I learned in business school." Why does that 0 look funny to me? Okay. 101 things I learned in business school. Pretty straightforward layout, and I see this kind of bugs me a little bit, that it's the exact same element copied over. I think there needs to be a theme and it needs to be reoccurring, but I'd like for you to continue to find variations on the theme and not use the exact same typeset that you borrowed from that side, okay? I think it'd be nice actually if you use some, let's switch inks here. Let me go default. Maybe you use, okay, let's see if I can do this here. I'm gonna grab this copy here, you guys, this one right here. I'm gonna copy it and paste it in front, and I'm gonna move it over here, okay? I'm gonna switch the sucker to multiply so that you can see it. V, I'm gonna move it around, and maybe I'll make it more transparent. I would love to see some other kinds of themes exploration, and this is one way to do it. There's probably better ways, but maybe you take that and you maybe make it smaller. I don't know. But you can repeat the type. Oops. And then you could repeat it again if you wanted to. It's starting to get a little bit messy here. I'm just trying to think on my feet here. Imagine if the red parts weren't there. We don't have to use the same elements over and over and again. I'd like to see a little bit more variety, okay? I totally messed up the design, but I think the internet gets it, right?
Yeah.
Okay, again, too much leading. You can see there's just too much, and we just tighten it up about 20-30% there. 101, numbers are a great element to work with, this 101. So if we were going back to your original design here, if I were to delete this sucker, okay? And we typed in 101. Let me show you how that would look. It's not gonna work because I don't have enough layers to work with here. 101. And we use Futura. And we made it bold. Why don't I have bold? I have to use the other Futura. Can you select it from, oh, I can't go down more. There's two Futuras, yeah, that one. There's bold right there. Okay, and I'm going to make it white. Okay, just like this. Hit Command T, make that sucker really, really big. So my rule is, if you're going to introduce a new point size, make sure it's at least double or half the other size. That's going to give you maximum contrast. So you could have easily put 101 behind this type and bring this type in front of it, or play around with it. So let me hide this so you guys can see what's going on. Okay, you can play around with it, maybe make it a little bit bigger so it cuts off that edge. There. So I'm mindful of how it's cut off here. I'm mindful of how it's cut there, and set good strong shapes. You can bring this type forward. Okay? It's just some options. Numbers and characters like the ampersand, any other thing that you can do to break up the typography, because we stop recognizing it as words and we see it as symbols and graphics, I think make it easier for us in terms of giving us different variety of things to work with. Maybe that's not the right size. What do you think? Maybe like that size? Maybe that's a little bit better.
Like really huge.
It could be ginormous too.
Yeah.
You could try that. And it's hard for us to look at because there's so much stuff I can't work with here. But that's an idea, direction to go down. Let's keep looking at things. Okay, this is a picture of Jose. This is a good image, good photograph, an image within an image within an image. I like that. Those are usually pretty nice tricks to play with. And then you have this kind of transparency overlay, which I like. Is that a box that's within the image? Is that the focal point?
Yeah.
That part bugs me, but there's not much you can do. You could clone it out, but how to be a designer. Theoretically, this is centered.
Yes.
Does it look centered to you, Emily? Why doesn't it look centered to me?
I think because you're.
Because I'm over here? It looks centered to you?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to embarrass myself one more time, and I'm going to do, where is it? Oh, you already created a layer for me? Let's just try. Let's just try. I'm going to do this, right? And every time I do this, Emily gets weak in the knees. Right? Okay, so I'm going to merge that down, which is Command E to merge it down, and then hit the number 3, 2. So, is it centered? Huh? What do you think? Is it centered, Emily?
I think so. Yeah.
I know what it is for me personally. I'm bothered by this part. That this seems a lot smaller than this, but maybe you're right.
I think it's because of the not semicolon.
The colon.
Yeah.
Yeah. So far, Emily has corrected for the ways of her past so far, and I think I have one or two more opportunities to prove her wrong, but let's see.
Emily 3.0.
The designer's dilemma: integrity versus profitability. This is the future. Okay. There's some scum or screen refresh issue there.
Yeah, it's called a ghosting.
It's ghosting. It's ghosting in
I
there.
can't fix it.
Oh, it's just burnt in this?
Yeah.
Aren't you the only owner of this thing?
Yeah.
You gonna blame the monitor?
No, it is the monitor.
Or did you just leave your screen on burned
No,
in?
it's like a faulty, like, I don't know.
Shoot.
Retina
Okay.
monitor.
Retina monitor is failing on us. Okay. First of all, let's make sure that we point this out. What is this called? That's called an apostrophe as opposed to a prime mark, which is this. Okay, you guys? Most typesetting programs will automatically switch it out for you, but make sure you learn the difference between that, versus this. There's an apostrophe, that's a prime mark. This is foot, like 36 feet, that's what you use, okay? Okay, so good on that. Designer dilemma, integrity versus profitability. I don't love that this is here. This is relating to nothing. I think it's nice that you indent this. So this is a nice way to create variety in the typeset. So you have designer's dilemma, that's a group, and then you indent this part, integrity versus profitability, without changing the point size, without changing the color, without changing the upper versus lowercase. That's working really well. What's not working really well is this part, right? And I think you did that because does it chop off over there?
Yeah.
On the right-hand side?
Yeah.
Okay, so her instinct said, pushes over here so it doesn't get cut off on this side. What would have been better if you just lined those two up and scale the whole typography, the point sizes down, so you have enough breathing room on both sides. That's it. This layout is pretty simple. We have similar issues with these overlapping. Look at this one right here. Look at that. There's
yeah,
that and that.
I know when I was working on this, I was like so frustrated because there's so many of these. But
Yeah. You know what you can do? You can do it behind it. You don't always have to do it in front of it.
Yeah.
There's lots of tricks you can do, and it's your own design and your own problem to solve. This one is missing some detail. We'll refer to this as mouse type, right? Where if you had a little mouse type here, let me see, here, here, and here, it would give you a little detail. We need something in this layout to give you detail. So I'm going to give you guys a tip here, okay? If you were to have a grid, so you don't have to have any more typography elements. I'm going to quickly create a grid here. And I know it's not perfect, you guys. Just relax, it'll be okay. I'm just eyeballing the spacing on this, okay? And then the computer's fighting me on that because it wants to snap to some kind of thing. Let's assume that's an okay grid. I'm going to select this again. I'm going to copy and I'll paste that. I'm going to Command T and rotate this 90 degrees, right? I'm going to put this down. I'm going to move it over a little bit. Let's just say it's like that. Okay, so let me go back to this. Hit Command E to merge those two layers. Command D to deselect anything. Hit V and then hit 4 or 5 or 2 to control the transparency. If you add some fine grid lines, this is not a fine grid line. I would use a half a point, 0.5 points of a grid line. You can create some interesting complexity out of nothing without introducing any more typography, without making it anything else for us to read. This is the push and pull of design and what a graphic designer can do. So if your layout is too simple, add something to it. If it's too complicated, take things away. That's the rule, okay? So this one is lacking for a little detail and there's some weird choppy bits. But you guys can see now if you add in a simple grid, which we did, and the grid doesn't even have to look like this. Check this out, you guys. Remember how we talked about be mindful of what you add, and you can also be taking things away. So you could have done something like that, and that would look good, right? Maybe it's too long, or maybe it's too thick. Just delete that, clean that up so it's nice and clean. So you can do things like that. You can also take this and you can offset it. It doesn't have to be on the same grid anymore. And that will still be okay. So some things for Emily to think about and to try, and I think it'll make for a more interesting design. I hope you guys think the same thing. Let's keep going.
Last.
Who put that scribble on there? Uh-oh.
Oh, it was from the preview.
It's okay. It's okay. Well, I can fix it fast. I drop that, and then marquee and option delete. I'm using a lot of keyboard shortcut, guys. Emily knows a bunch. I know a few, and it's good that you have to learn your keyboard shortcuts. You work faster, you think quicker, and you want to be able to explore ideas. This is what I'm talking about when I say master the tools. Learn all the keyboard shortcuts so you work at the speed of thought, okay? This is a really nice layout. Typography. I think that's okay. Here's a problem. Here's a problem. I do not like the 2 dashes here. So we can cheat. Okay? Christo says cheat. Not on your girlfriend, not on your boyfriend, but you can cheat on your layout. So this is where grammar and English says you have to do it like this, but it's much better if you took this layout and you move it over here, okay? And you put the dash on this side. Even me doing this actually makes the layout kind of interesting to me. That there's a little element of unexpectedness. And here's what I'm going to say to you guys. Sometimes when you work with a vector program like Adobe Illustrator or InDesign, you don't have these moments of cutting and moving things around. So I like to think about physical media, even though I'm working in digital space, that if this were a piece of paper or a piece of Ruby Lith and I had to cut and move things around, you get some interesting, happy accidents. And don't be afraid to explore that, okay? So if I take the same, is it still hidden? No, okay. If I were to take the same unit of measure and I hit the letter M for the marquee tool, I'm gonna move it over here, holding on the shift key. And if I took this and I offset that a little bit to repeat that element, and you can see it adds some visual interest and it's breaking up the space. Now, why the heck would I do that? And I'll tell you why right now. Because see, I see Emily cut this off here, which breaks up the border. In her other design, the border's been well respected and she didn't touch it. By doing that, I think I have now permission to break other borders and it creates some kind of visual interest. I think we might have just lucked out, Emily. Let's see if we have. What do you think? Did we luck out?
Maybe.
You know where I'm going with this. So did we luck out? So close. So you can see that even in accidentally cutting this, we want to make everything relate. And this is the power of the grid, you guys. This is where you make the design sing. And I also believe you could move this over there and it would be really strong, okay? Because this is such a well-established grid line already that moving this sucker, no respect suckers, I'm just gonna move this guy over here, assuming that's correct. I'm gonna hit B for brush, Option to pick the color, and then M to marquee that, and then hit Option delete and fill that to fix that thing, okay? Now, if we hide this because the line becomes part of the design, it's kind of interesting, right? It's something is happening here, and I think it's kind of cool. So we broke a rule. We didn't need to add the dash if we just use that just to fill the space. And it's a little bit unexpected. It breaks the grid line a little bit. This one has nice detail, has big graphic elements, and it has a good bold headline typography. It's pretty cool. And you got the OCR-A typeface in there, or sometimes referred to as ochre, which I love ochre. Okay. Awesome job. Guys, I hope you enjoyed another edition of Typography with Emily Xie and myself. We went over 16 designs in about 1 week using the most popular episodes as a premise to create a series of 16 posters to create a grid of 4 by 4. And that's it for now. Let us know if you guys like it. Hit that subscribe button and see you guys on the next typography video.